Hey guys, welcome back to Team Death Slinger. My name is Peter, and today we're looking at some comments. We have comments that swing one way for power creep discussions and ban list discussions, and a lot of comments that swing the other way. So we're going to take a look at that, and we're going to look at some positive comments from some of my other videos as well. So starting with Cantus Tropus, wishing you the best, have some engagement. This was on a post I made announcing that we now have a Buy Me a Coffee page. So if you want to support our channel, that link is in the description. Thank you very much, Cantus Tropus. Thank you for the engagement. I appreciate that. Next, we have Itachi65 Full. I have no issue with proxies, especially the ones I make. In sleeves, they feel and look like real cards. Out of sleeves, they look and feel good, though you can't really shuffle them. I also have a thing with if something is unnecessarily hard or annoying, I look for an alternative. Proxies is that. I don't care about the real product. It's more about the quality of the proxy. I will also still buy the product, but I find it difficult to complete decks due to the high price of certain cards. If you want to play the game for cheap, you have to wait for cards and boosters to go down in price, which could take years. So you are left playing with older, out-of-date decks. This was on Does the Digimon TCG Have a Problem? Personally, no issue with proxies. I advocate it. If you're in my Discord, you can see I do push for proxies. I think if you want to play with a game piece, it's reasonable to get that game piece at a price that is economical for you. Obviously, you can't use them for tournaments, but if you're not playing tournaments, who cares? If you want to play the game and you're interested in actually playing the game, I don't see the logic in money getting people out of the game. Just let people do what they want and get your games in. So, James Reagan 7495 says, "Bro, we have the same lamp and Gunpla Gallantmon models on Does Digimon TCG Have a Problem?" I just want to say that's super cool. There's my lamp. There's my Gallantmon. And there's my Gunpla up there. So if you're also into Gunpla, let me know in the comments down below. Let me know if you like building model kits. I think it's super cool. I haven't built any recently, but yeah, there's a whole bunch back there and over there and back there. So next, Altered Veggie 1495. You have no idea how hard I've been searching for a profile on trains. It seems like literally nobody is touching the deck on the Pain Train BT17 Ground Locomon deck profile. That I'm trying to do as many of the villain decks as I can. Next week, I'm going to try and get Argomon and Eosmon done so that I have, I believe, all of them done. I don't think there's any others. But yeah, I want to do Ground Locomon because I didn't see any profiles on it. I didn't see any profiles for Murmukusmon. I think there's a couple out for Argomon now. I haven't looked for Eosmon, but I'm sure somebody's done it because Eosmon was popular before. Well, maybe not popular, but people were trying to play it before. So I made it a priority to get Ground Locomon out for sure, and Murmukusmon because I looked for them and didn't see them. So I'm glad that you found that profile and you enjoyed it. So now we're going to get into the power creep discussion comments. El Velocitapter, okay, just says no. So, all right, fair enough. George Calamaris says, "I don't really like strong effects to be generic and easily splashable. Magnamon X can easily be played in decks like Yellow Vaccine without even playing a regular Magnamon. Tribal limits some interactions they probably haven't thought of, like Shoto with Mother. They only locked the second effect to its archetype, and now half the deck just can't play." This is response to part of the video where I said I would like more generic strong effects. And to be fair, that is my error. I didn't necessarily specify what I meant by I want more strong generic effects. I think generic cards should be playable. I think right now a majority of what I would consider generic cards aren't super playable, obviously outside of Numemon and outside of a couple of other cards. I think for the most part, I don't like that the main drawback to generic cards seems to be that they cost 4 memory. I would prefer if they cost 3 and they had a generically good effect, like in purple, for example, play out a level 3, and then they had a downside to it, like, I don't know, pick a downside and just apply it to the card, so that you can still play it economically, like within your memory constraints. But you're going to get an upside and you're going to get a downside for treading outside of your tribe. As far as Mother D and Shoto goes, I mean, these interactions just keep seeming to crop up where something's not really anticipated and it's silly. But I think East has a really interesting video on that topic where Shoto and Mother D isn't actually the most obnoxious thing in the world. You could consider it a gatekeeper to like half the decks if they can't get over a 15k blocker, but there's other decks in this format that are definitely also gatekeepers. And if you're going to complain about Mother D and Shoto because some decks can't get over it, I feel like it's kind of a moot point because a lot of the top decks have stuff that other decks just can't get over. Like if your deck can't deal with Magna X, I mean, obviously you just lose to Magna X. So I don't know. I think it slows down a lot of decks until they can get over the 15k blocker or until they get wide enough to deal with the 15k blocker. And I don't know if I necessarily hate that. Obviously haven't played with it in this meta, but it is just something for consideration. User string of letters and numbers says, right now the Japanese version is very balanced. People are winning tournaments with very varied decks, so don't worry. I did also see that, and that's why I said I like the direction that the card game was going. While I do have my complaints about certain things, that is just from a personal preference standpoint for the most part. I think the game needed a ban list really badly, and we did just get one, and I think it's a good ban list. So I'm really, really interested to see where the meta goes from here. I'm curious if it's going to stay as diverse as it was. I know EX7, the Mirage gets really good, and now that we've pushed other decks out of the way of Mirage, I'm wondering if Mirage is just going to go nuts and kind of take over the format, but we'll have to wait and see. Amber Storm 1999 says, I will die on the hill that aces ruined this game by further encouraging the bottlenecking of card design to focus harder on stronger pre-counter timing removal and more protection floating effects to ignore aces who by this point are just free removal. Terrible design decision, and everyone should be rotated out of the legal card pool. Would make the game way healthier. I don't know that I agree with this. I think as far as aces go, I think they were fine when they started, and then I don't like the direction they came in. I feel like aces should be a hand trappy tool almost in the same way it is some of the cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! Where there's a specific interaction that you're acing for, and you don't necessarily just have it as an offensive tool. Like, you don't Ash Blossom in Yu-Gi-Oh! To kill your opponent, if that makes sense. And there's a lot of aces in Digimon that not only stop something as a defensive tool, but then it inherently nets you value because you get a free Evo. But then on top of that, you get an offensive tool with it. Like Valkyrie Ace is a great example of that, where it's defensive, but then you also get 2 checks off of it most of the time, and it's just kind of really, really good. I don't know necessarily what the solution to that is. If you start pulling aces out of the game, people will get upset because the value of their game pieces goes down and collector market gets hit, and then people whine. And that's, while as a player it might not be important to you, it might be important to other people like Bondi who make money off the game. I recently had a conversation with a friend where I think the implementation of aces is kind of a missed opportunity. Imagine if we had reserved aces for something like slide evolutions, like the X antibody cards, instead of just, oh, you're going to evolve, Agumon into Agumon X and raising and just net a free draw off of it. What if aces were X antibodies, or aces were the dark versions of cards like Black Agumon, Black Guilmon, whatever, any slide evo you can think of. I think it would have been more interesting because you're not climbing a free level, you're not necessarily gaining your normally 3 memory of equity out of it with the free evo, and then I think the effects could have been made more niche, but obviously that didn't happen. There's no way to know how that would have panned out or how useful it would have been, but just something for consideration. I know aces are super polarizing, but I think they're here to stay, and we just have to live with them for now. K. Brixon says, something that I've realized when testing out lower tier decks is that they don't have many ways to protect themselves from deletions or interruption. Very true. These effects are usually exclusive to level 5 and above Digimon. Not necessarily true. They can be inheritables on level 4s, like Greymon X. The issue here is that most low-tier decks will have to Evo in the back or set up training cards to safely play on your next turn. By doing this, you may memory choke your opponent, but you lose out on important effects, or if you Evo into level 5 with no protection, then you're just waiting to be deleted or de-digivolved on the clapback, undoing all your progress, where most meta deck will be able to recover resources or be able to build back up quickly. This is an extremely accurate statement, and is a consideration I make almost every time I build one of these profiles, is you're more than likely either going into 5 in the back, promoting going to 6 and getting a level 6 effect on these older cards because you have to, or you're setting up a bunch of training, a bunch of setup, and then your deck is just thoroughly mid because you spent all your resources to set up into a level 6 that does not win you the game when you get to it. And a lot of these new decks either get to their level 6 really fast by generating free resources, free memory, free tamer, free whatever you can think of, and then they build back into their stack quickly when they lose it, so they're not really punished for throwing their stack out there and it dying at level 4 or whatever. And that's the way decks trend. And if you can't use tools to kind of expedite your deck's ability to go up the stack, I mean, you can't keep up and that deck cycles out. And that's unfortunate, but that's the reality. I mean, that's why Alice and Memory Gain Inheritables are in like all my purple decks right now, because when I want to play a bad purple level 6, that is the most efficient way to get to your level 6 and keep turn and not just get popped immediately because you don't have any protection effects. So yeah, it's true. Ashley Wright 6373 on ban list is here, says, I'm happy with all these hits personally. I like the TK hit because it also indirectly reduces the value of Emissary. With fewer TK, Yellow Axiom will be able to stack security and use it as a second hand as easily. They'll be less likely to get the recovery from Emissary 2, as you mentioned. Yeah, that's how I feel about the card. I think I think a lot of Yellow Vaccine players are going to hate this hit because I think it's going to make Yellow Vaccine feel not as nice. But I think that this is a good middle ground hit. I think if you take out Patamon, you kill Vaccine. I think nobody's going to play Vaccine or enjoy playing Vaccine if you don't have Patamon. Patamon into TK is just an absurdly strong combo, and Emissary is inherently reliant on TK. So if you cut the best TK that everybody runs at basically 3 or 4, inherently just the strength of Vaccine goes down. But I'm sure there's other things people can do. I know DigiPanda was already talking about how he's cooking some ideas for that, so we'll have to see how that shakes out. On the other side of the fence, I include the whole comment chain here. MJ says, I mean, if a deck from BT15 has been the best deck for a while, you'd want them to get the deck completely. Not sure why you are upset. They killed the second most annoying deck after Magna X. This was in reference to the fact that I said when I saw the Nume X ban that I was surprised that they hit that instead of Monze X, and I would have preferred the Monze X hit. This is purely an identity thing for the deck. I think Nume X allows the deck to maintain an identity of floating bodies. Monze X is kind of more of a control DP reduction piece, although they both fit in the deck, obviously. I just think hitting Monze X instead of Nume X would give you a more coherent identity for the deck, which would still be at a lower power level because Ukomons are hit, Monze X is hit. You're kind of just floating into level 6s. You're still going to do the level 6 shenanigans, but I mean, you know. So I responded, I said, not sure where you got the idea. I'm upset about the Nume X hit. I'm totally fine with it. I agree the deck needed to be hit. Uko plus something was what most people thought would happen. I just had a preference for Monze X over Nume X. I do see this happen in my comments a lot too, where I say, not necessarily that I don't like something, but that I prefer something, or that something would have been nicer than something, and it's taken as me disliking the first option. And I just want to clarify, if I don't specifically say that I'm upset about something, or I dislike something, or I think something was done badly, it doesn't bother me. I mean, it's fine. And then Dual Ponzac says, BT15, bro, what about Mirage? That's like BT11 completely untouched, and yes, this ban list was way too kind in comparison to what it should have done. They were probably too scared to touch on those secret. At least they unbanned that Gabu. Purple Gabu base paid the price that many decks are dodging at the moment. I don't know how many more decks you hit and keep your player base happy. I know a lot of people wanted Imperial hit. I think DigiPanda has a great video that talks about, you know, that potential hit and how kind of difficult that is. Hitting Mirage is so tricky, and I disagree with hitting it personally. What do you run if you... Okay, so first of all, what do you hit in Mirage? The only card that makes sense is the BT11 Mirage, and if you restrict that card, the deck is dead. Nobody's going to run BT13 Mirage as your top end, and then what's the other Mirage? Like BT5 Mirage Galgamon? Nobody's going to play either of those top ends, and you're kind of just removing the card from, or the deck from the meta, and I feel like that's what's going to happen with Nume, and I don't like that approach to handling decks, but to each their own. I think when that deck gets better in EX7, and what we'll see with the ban list is probably that that deck will be just much better, then I think would be a more appropriate time to hit the deck. But I guess everyone has their preferences on what they think is way too good, way too strong, and you're not going to be able to please everybody. I think the best way you're going to be able to evaluate how effective a ban list is if something silly comes out. Like, I literally just saw a video talking about a galaxy loop you can do now, where you just keep stealing turns like infinitely, and that's kind of crazy. Or if you get competitive results that are obviously super skewed, like Numemon taking up 20% of the decks played in the tournament. So yeah, that's what we have for our comments. Everybody has split opinions. Everybody thinks different things about power creep, about the ban list, and so on and so forth. So thank you guys for watching this video. Thank you guys for engaging with my videos. I hope you have a great day. Thanks for watching.